Okay, hello and welcome. Today we're going to be discussing a very powerful yet underused wealth management strategy specifically for business owners and incorporated professionals that can have huge benefits for those that implement it, like being able to retire with the same kind of pension and guaranteed income stream as a teacher or as a civil servant. Joining me today on this webinar, I have the pleasure of having Jean-Pierre Laporte. Jean-Pierre is a pension lawyer. He is the CEO of Integris Pension Management Corp. He has been awarded the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal for his contributions to the development of newer and better retirement saving plans, specifically in the private sector for business owners. We're going to discuss how, as a business owner, you can actually upgrade your RRSP in a pretty substantial way with a solution called the Personal Pension Plan, or PPP. JP, thank you for joining me.
Happy to be with you.
Excellent. So let's jump right in. My team here at RBC Dominion Securities, we specialize in wealth management for business owners and individuals with professional corporations. Of course, everyone has a unique situation, but we tend to hear our clients bring up the same three issues or concerns when it comes to their retirement and their business. So JP, what I'd like to do, I want to share these concerns with you, and perhaps you can shed some light as to how a PPP can help address them.
Okay.
So before we jump in, how do you actually qualify for a personal pension plan? You have to be between the ages of 30 to 71. You have to own a business or a corporation and receive T4 salary, not just dividends. And back to the three main concerns. Number one concern that we hear from our clients is that they're concerned if they're going to have enough money to retire comfortably and be able to maintain their lifestyle if they stop working or if they retire early. So maybe you can let us know how PPP might be able to help with that.
Sure, thank you. So PPPs provide the mechanism to put aside the most amount of money in a tax-sheltered environment under the Income Tax Act. There is no other solution under tax laws that allows you to put that much money aside for your retirement. So that takes care of making sure there's enough to retire on. And the reason for that is because the personal pension plan uses pension legislation instead of using RSP rules in determining how much money you're allowed to put in each year in a tax-deferred environment. In fact, if you were to plot the accumulations of an RRSP that's being maximized, where you're putting as much money as the law allows you, versus the same person, everything else being the same, using a personal pension plan instead, you can see that over time, because you're allowed to put more, you end up with significantly more assets at retirement. In many, many cases, our customers are projected to retire with an extra $1 million by the time they retire.
Wow. Okay, so pain point number two, or concern number two, we all know that we pay very high income taxes here in Ontario. That's especially true for incorporated professionals or business owners who've lately been negatively impacted by the new laws passed in 2008 concerning things like tax on split income for family members working in the business and tax on passive investments inside of the business. So how can a personal pension plan help here or alleviate some of these taxes?
Well, there are many ways. One of them is, of course, the fact that the personal pension plan allows the business owners to claim a whole host of additional tax deductions that the RSP customer cannot use. So I'm going to review some of them, not all of them, but just give you a highlight of the biggest ones. So the first one is the contribution deduction. The annual contributions are larger in a PPP than an RSP. We know that this year, in 2019, the most you can put in an RSP is $26,500. With the PPP, you're starting at a higher level than that. The lowest you would be putting in is $27,220, but you could go all the way to $44,730. That's $18,000 more than the RSP in a given year, depending on your age.
Wow.
But that's not the end of the story, because not only can you put more money in each year, you can also start off with a retroactive buyback pass service if you paid yourself T4 income in the past, like a salary. So there could be, for example, in this case, a $500,000 corporate tax deduction just to buy back the past. And then every year or every 3 years, if the assets are invested in such a way that they don't earn 7.5%, the corporation that's sponsoring the PPP has the ability to contribute fresh tax-deductible amounts called special payments. That's to make sure that there's enough money at the end of the day to pay the promised benefits that the pension plan is going to give you. And then, unlike the RSP, where you're not allowed to write off your investment management fees, in a pension plan like a PPP, the corporation has the right to write off all the investment management fees that are charged against the assets in order to grow them. And finally, by the time you decide to turn on the pension, if you were to turn on the pension prior to age 65, you'd be able to increase your early retirement pension and index it to the cost of living. So you'd start pulling out money much sooner than age 65 and have that amount grow alongside inflation. To fund that, the corporation would write a check to the pension fund, which we call terminal funding, and the entire terminal funding amount is completely tax deductible to your business.
Okay, so huge deductions available all around for the business. And of course, for the third point, the elephant in the room when it comes to most businesses as they grow is the estate taxes that loom for heirs of business owners, or the death taxes as we sometimes call it in our industry, when succession or when the estate is going to be passed on to the beneficiaries. So what can be done about these death taxes using a PPP?
Well, there is one solution that may not always work, but it's great when it does, and it's the ability, when you have a family business, for the children that are working in the business, that are on the payroll, to be added to the PPP of the parents. Because unlike an RSP, when a PPP member dies while collecting their pension, the assets are not deemed disposed, they're not taxed. They're considered pension surplus. And that surplus remains trapped inside of the PPP, and the surplus can be used by the survivor, by the children who are working in the business, to fund their own pension. So what happens is that there is no deemed disposition on the assets, so millions of dollars potentially in taxes are saved. All the capital stays in the plan for the next generation. And as a bonus, because this surplus hasn't gone through the estate of the deceased plan members, there is no provincial probate fees levied against that money either. So you save both federally and provincially.
Okay, great. So I just want to recap really quick, the points and everything that you've explained. So in essence, by setting up a PPP, not only can you accumulate much more retirement assets, which can then in turn become a guaranteed income stream, but you can also get the highest deductions available for your business, and you can actually bypass probate and estate taxes altogether for the remaining value. Does that kind of make sense, everything?
That's all wrapped into one solution. Yes, you're correct.
Wow, so that's pretty incredible. But one of the things that I've heard from clients or business owners when discussing this solution, and it's a very good point. What happens to the plan if they go to sell their business? I'm sure the purchaser is not going to want to fund their pension.
Well, that's right. Although there's some weird exceptions where it makes sense, but 99% of the time the purchaser does not want to sponsor the pension plan of the seller. So what are the options? Well, they include winding up, terminating the PPP, and then transferring all the assets that are inside the PPP over to a locked-in retirement account or to a life income fund, or you can even purchase an annuity if you wanted to. Or if you don't want to do that, and if you have a holding company or you're willing to incorporate a new company you can assign the entire bundle of assets from the company that's being sold over to the holdco or the newco. And those companies would become the sponsor of the plan. That way, the purchaser of your company doesn't have to worry about the PPP.
Okay, excellent. So as far as the next steps, if you believe that this is something that could be beneficial to you and to your business, to your retirement, help you guarantee an income stream, reduce your taxes, and all the other benefits that we spoke about, hop onto the next page here by clicking the link below. You can fill out an application with some of your information, and our team will be in contact with you in order to set up a call or a meeting, and we can take it from there. So, JP, thank you very much for joining me on this webinar. All the information that you provided is greatly appreciated, and I look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.